You know, I've seen some ego in my life, but nothing quite like the kind you find baked hard into a seasoned sniper, especially when they're showing off for a fresh crop of recruits. And I was one of those recruits, or at least I was playing one. It was a blistering hot day at Fort Crimson. The kind of dry desert heat that makes your uniform cling and up on the firing line. The elite marksmanship unit was demonstrating what they called God's own rifle, the huge Apex 50 caliber. Their shots were ringing out like thunder, traveling a mile and a half across the valley, just dropping targets with this brutal, almost arrogant precision. I was standing there, a blonde cadet named Sarah Sunny Evans, tucked tight in my cap, trying to look appropriately wide-eyed like the rest of the greenhorns. But honestly, my blue eyes weren't missing a single thing. I was watching their form, their breathing, their cheek weld, and I could feel the mistakes, the tiny imperfections in their routine, things these guys clearly hadn't noticed in years. The man running the show was Master Sergeant Colt, a guy with 3 tours in Afghanistan etched around his eyes and enough ribbons to choke a pony, talking about them being the finest collection of long-range shooters in the nation. He was proud, I'll give him that, but his men, they were just full of themselves, especially this one guy, Sergeant Rex, who had forearms like oak branches and a scar running from his ear down his jaw. The kind of scar he clearly thought was his silver star. After he made his shot, he strutted over, ejected the shell, and just looked down his nose at us, this dismissive, cold stare that lingered on me for a second too long. "That's how it's done, Boots," he drawled. "Years of grit, not something you pick up watching action movies, huh?" The implication was crystal clear. I was a pretty little girl who didn't belong. When Colt finally asked if anyone had questions, I hesitated just long enough for the veterans to start smirking, already predicting the stupidity of my newbie question. I raised my hand, stiff and precise. "Sir, permission to observe the optics and rail configuration more closely?" I kept my voice steady, professional, nothing tentative about it. Rex stepped up, this giant shadow blocking the sun, and he laughed, a deep, gravelly sound. "Aw, she wants a closer look. Hope it doesn't weigh more than your last boyfriend, cadet. Might strain those cute little shoulders." The laughter that erupted from the rest of the unit was genuinely ugly, the kind of camaraderie built on casual cruelty, but I just held my composure, staring straight ahead. My jaw was tight, yeah, but I wouldn't give them the reaction they wanted. Colt finally sighed and let me approach, warning me, "Look, but don't touch." And so I did. I studied those rifles, not the standard parts, but the modifications, the custom bipods, the trigger pull adjustment, the subtle way the scope was mounted, every detail screaming, money and specialized work. Rex whispered something about me asking for a pink muzzle brake, and I could feel the heat rising in my face, but I knew my game face was solid. I returned to formation, my mind already working overtime, calculating angles, wind, and distance. Then the wind decided to join the show. It suddenly cranked up, flags snapping aggressively, dust devils spinning across the range. Colt checked his meter, frowning. Winds gusting up to 30 knots now, shifting direction constantly. Brutal conditions even for them. The veterans took turns trying to hit a specialty target way out at 3,000 meters, an extreme challenge. And they all missed. Shot after shot, miss after miss, just frustration mounting on their faces. Rex was growling, wiping sweat and dirt across his forehead, calling the conditions impossible. Colt tried to spin it into a lesson for us. Sometimes the best shot is the one you don't take. That was my cue. I shook my head, just an almost imperceptible movement, but one of the guys next to me saw it. Colt caught the flicker of dissent and turned, sarcasm dripping from his voice like acid. "Well, does one of our fine cadets think they can show the combat veterans how it's done then?" Silence fell, heavy and absolute. But then I stepped forward, one crisp, perfect motion breaking the formation. "Permission to attempt the shot, sir." The snipers absolutely lost it. They were hooting, slapping their knees, Rex actually wiping tears from his eyes. "Oh, this is gold, Colt. You gotta let her try. Best lesson in humility we've had all year." Colt was amused, nodding slowly. "Go ahead, Hayes. Show us what you've got." As I walked up, there was a definite shift in my posture, something subtle but noticeable. I didn't approach the rifle like a nervous newbie. I moved like someone taking possession. I adjusted the bipod, checked the bubble level, and settled in behind that monster Apex 50 with textbook perfect form, but not the textbook they had been issued. My hands, my elbows, my cheek weld, everything was a flawless echo of advanced marksmanship doctrine. The joking stopped. I could feel their professional curiosity taking over. Colt was frowning, asking if I was familiar with the weapon. "No, sir," I answered calmly. "Just observant." I didn't flinch, didn't show any nervousness. I just performed my calculations on my notepad, checked the flags, and my breathing slowed. Deep inhale, controlled exhale, holding at the moment of perfect stillness. The respiratory pause. Crack. The rifle thundered, the recoil barely moving me. I held my sight picture through the follow-through, and a few seconds later, the metallic ping of impact, followed by the sight of the red indicator flashing dead center in the bullseye. Silence. Absolute, stunning silence. Rex slowly lowered his binoculars, his jaw slack. That's impossible," he stammered. I stood up, safed the weapon with practiced ease, and placed it back on the stand. "Thank you for the opportunity, sir." No smugness, no emotion, just professional courtesy. I returned to formation, leaving them all speechless, staring at me like I was a ghost. Later, in the command office, Colt was showing my file to Colonel Stone, a stern career officer. "It's impossible, Colonel," Colt insisted. "That level of skill requires years of special activities training, not just a gifted shot." Stone, tracing his finger over my redacted service record, just murmured, "Interesting? Very interesting indeed." When Rex knocked and came in, demanding an investigation, saying I had to have falsified my documents, Stone just nodded. "Approved, Sergeant, but quietly. Don't harass a promising cadet over one good shot." Rex wasn't wrong to be suspicious, of course. My name wasn't actually Sarah Evans. It was Captain Clara Vance, and that little impossible shot was just a necessary tool to get their attention. I wasn't there for a training evaluation. I was there because my cover, as a rookie, was the best way to get close to a deep cover operation codenamed Orion's Shadow, which I suspected was using this very base as a logistics hub for something dark. That night, digging through my father's old files, a man officially listed as a deceased high school history teacher, Rex found the photo. My dad, Thomas Vance, accepting a classified commendation, and me, younger, standing beside him in a uniform with the unmistakable flash of USA SOCOM, Special Activities Division visible on the shoulder. He had me, not just with a theory, but with visual proof of fraud. Rex confronted me the next day away from the others. "Youth Army program, Captain?" he said, holding up the photo. "Funny, that shoulder patch isn't in any basic training manual." I tried to maintain the weak cover story, but he was tenacious. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a low growl. "I'll find out the truth. Hayes, and if you falsified federal documents, that's not just dismissal. That's serious time." For the first time, genuine fear flashed across my face, not for me, but for the mission. I needed time. That night, moving with practiced stealth to a remote communication dead zone, I used my secondary secure burner. "I'm compromised," I whispered into the encrypted line. Rex knows. Mentioned Silent Phoenix. That was the real trigger. Silent Phoenix. The operation my father ran, the one that ended with his heart attack. The voice on the other end, my handler, was tense. "Maintain cover. If necessary, we implement Shadow Protocol." The voice was grim. I knew what Shadow Protocol meant, permanent termination of the security risk. I stared at the phone. No, Rex was a good soldier. He deserved better. The next morning, the base was buzzing. Rex was summoned to Stone's office. When he walked in, I was there. No longer in cadet uniform, but in my actual captain's uniform. It was the best, cleanest counter move we could devise on the fly. Stone gave the practiced, smooth explanation. "Captain Vance is conducting an undercover evaluation of protocols." "Need to know basis, Sergeant." Rex didn't buy it. I could see the suspicion burning in his eyes. but he had to salute and leave. The official cover was deployed. Later, I contacted him telling him part of the truth, that I was investigating a leak of classified sniper techniques targeting our most sensitive operations. "Why tell me now?" he asked, his voice weary but sharp. I took a breath. "Because you served with my father, Rex, Kosovo, 2001. His eyes widened slightly. I had found the real pressure point. "You saved his life and he saved yours, and because you're already so deep in this, containing you has become problematic." It was the perfect leverage, an appeal to his honor, and a chilling hint of the threat hanging over his head. We worked together like clockwork. Rex's intimate knowledge of the base's old, forgotten security protocols was invaluable. My technical skills, which I'd learned from my father, the history teacher, who also taught me JSOC Cyber Division tactics, allowed us to bypass the digital defenses. We found the evidence in the administrative section. Regular, systematic file transfers occurring every night from the administrative terminal belonging to Colonel Stone. It was Stone, the Bronze Star, the career officer, the man above suspicion. He was the insider. The base alarms sounded immediately after we installed our remote monitoring software, sending everyone scrambling into a massive, unscheduled security exercise. Rex, grim-faced, realized what it was. Perfect cover. Chaos while giving armed teams a legitimate reason to deploy. Then my encrypted device buzzed. "Confirmed. Black Tiger active." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Rex," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "Black Tiger is sanctioned assassination against General Westcott. They know he's here. And if they know about him, they know about us. We're next on the list." We rushed to Stone's office, bypassing the digital lock using the electronic sleight of hand my father had taught me. Inside the concealed safe, we found the proof. Technical specifications for the next-gen smart rifle, the Valkyrie system, details on my father's autopsy, and a handwritten note from Stone confirming the operation completed successfully. No traces detected. "They killed him," I stated, the personal reality of it hitting me hard, but quickly giving way to cold, hard focus. "He discovered them, and they killed him." Hiding behind a bookcase, we watched Stone enter the office with the imposter, a man impersonating General Westcott, and two dangerous-looking bodyguards. Stone was sweating, pleading, "This wasn't the plan. Killing American personnel crosses a line." The fake Westcott cut him off with a chilling finality. "Plans evolve, Colonel. Your cooperation is no longer optional. Secure the Valkyrie prototype for transport. We move within the hour. We had minutes. We needed to get to the prototype, and we needed to find the real General Westcott, who we knew had slipped onto base to conduct his own shadow investigation." Using Rex's intimate knowledge of the old maintenance tunnels, the hidden arteries of the base, we moved like ghosts toward the western sector. Just as we reached the secure communications post, preparing to send the evidence to SOCOM, a voice stopped us cold. "Sorry about this," the voice said, the familiar drawl tinged with regret. It was Sergeant Jenkins, Rex's old, mustached friend. He had a rifle leveled straight at us. Rex looked utterly betrayed. "Why, Jenkins? After 15 years? What did they offer you?" Jenkins scanned the shadows nervously, then lowered his weapon slightly. "It's not what it looks like. Westcott sent me. I'm on your side." Jenkins led us through a hidden route to a decommissioned bunker, where we found the real General Westcott, wounded but very much alive. He confirmed everything. Stone was coerced, the imposter was a professional agent, and the security exercise was covered to steal the Valkyrie system, a weapon that, in the wrong hands, would completely compromise every operational security detail across the globe. Westcott handed me his personal, dedicated satellite comms. "Red Phoenix Protocol," he commanded, his voice tight with pain but authority. "Full authorization, Captain. You need to stop that prototype and expose this network." He looked at me, then at Rex, who stood ready. "Like your father, Vance. Always right on time." We executed the plan immediately. Jenkins took the general through an escape tunnel to a concealed off-base vehicle. Rex and I, with Red Phoenix authority, moved to the weapons development facility, knowing the fake general and Stone would be there any minute to secure the target. We burst into the secure facility. Stone and the fake Westcott were already connecting the Valkyrie rifle to a transport crate. "Captain Vance!" Stone cried, his face a mask of conflict and fear. The fake Westcott, all cold eyes and professional menace, drew his sidearm. "Shadow protocol it is," he hissed. He fired, but Rex, moving with the speed of years of combat instinct, knocked Stone aside just as I threw myself into cover, simultaneously drawing and dropping my own silenced pistol. "Rex, take the bodyguards! I've got the target!" The room erupted into a fierce close-quarters gunfight. Rex was a force of nature, maneuvering with devastating efficiency against the two hired guards. Meanwhile, the fake Westcott, trying to flee with the weapon, was surprised by my perfect shot placement, not to kill but to incapacitate. One round to his shoulder, one to the knee. He dropped like a stone, the Valkyrie system skittering across the floor. I stood over him, my own sidearm steady. Rex had neutralized the two bodyguards. Colonel Stone, curled up on the floor, was trembling. "It was my daughter, Clara," he whimpered. "They threatened my daughter." I picked up the satellite comms, my eyes locked on the fallen imposter, and sent the Red Phoenix confirmation code to SOCOM High Command, along with the full data package. I then looked at Stone, a man who let his fear override his oath, but who also helped us in the end. Justice was complex. I turned to Rex, who was securing the evidence. "It's done," I told him, the tension finally leaving my body. "Justice for my father. The network is exposed." Rex looked at Stone, then back at me. "The full story, Captain?" he asked, his voice low. "Everything you can share." I nodded, the corner of my mouth turning up in a small, genuine smile. Everything. And that was the end of Sarah Evans, the clumsy rookie. The network was dismantled, Stone was taken into custody, and the Valkyrie system was secured. But the real lesson wasn't about the impossible shot, or even the gunfight. It was about how easily an institution can be corrupted from within, and how often a hero's uniform hides a villain, or a villain's uniform hides a hero. Rex and Jenkins, they're getting the full commendation they deserve, and me? I learned that even in the darkest, most complicated operations, you can find a good soldier, a decent heart, right where you least expect it. So, let me ask you, if you were Rex, knowing everything you know now about the operation, the cover-up, and the threat to your country, and knowing the man who betrayed his oath did it to save his daughter, what would you have done with Colonel Stone? Was his act of helping us in the end enough to offset his treason? Or is the line absolute? Let me know in the comments below. Drop your thoughts on loyalty versus law, and don't forget to like and share this story if you believe sometimes the truest heroism is found in the shadows.